A poor diet, lack of exercise, obesity, and a family history. These are all some of the common causes for high cholesterol. It's a common health issue, and if left undetected, it can have devastating consequences, like heart attacks or strokes. Getting your cholesterol checked is one way to know your health status. As internist Dr. Fernando Cuellar explains, everyone should get checked regularly.
There's not an age limit to it, okay? Teenagers, early, later, mid-20s, 30s, 40s, so there's no exception to who should get at least a yearly check, okay? Of course, if you have a family history of what are called dyslipidemias, which are the fancy word for high cholesterol or high triglycerides, it's all lumped into that word, then you would want to check more often, okay, 2 or 3 times a year. What happens in these two main cardiovascular conditions is that the lining, the blood vessels, they actually start forming these plaques that narrows the arteries, and these plaques are usually cholesterol based. So over time, instead of your artery being a certain diameter, certain width, it starts closing, so it reduces blood flow, and hence the reason people get affected by strokes and heart attacks. So you have to know your cholesterol numbers, no?
Knowing your numbers is the only way to know for sure if you have cholesterol problems.
We do speak of cholesterol and triglycerides, but this whole thing should be called what is called a lipid profile, because then we do the breakdown into the good and the bad cholesterol. The HDL, okay, which is the good one. I like to tell people, remember the H for the happy, and the LDL, because talking about low density lipoprotein comes a little bit difficult for people. So just remember the H for happy and the L for lousy, okay, so it's easier. And they play a role. The L, the low density one, is the harmful one, and the HDL, the happy one, is actually a protective one. Okay, so you will want your HDL to be high and your LDL to be low. Okay?
And your triglycerides
Normal.
The lipid profile or cholesterol test is done through a blood test. Traditionally, it has always been recommended that the test be done after an 8 to 12 hour fast, no food or drink except for water. But the latest research indicates that the fasting prerequisite may no longer be necessary.
They have done many tests, many reviews, researchers are saying it doesn't make a difference. Okay, it doesn't make a difference. So you could tell somebody to come in and check their cholesterol in the afternoon or in the evening, okay, if convenience permitting. We can do your cholesterol, your triglyceride check at any time, no? As a matter of fact, people who go to the emergency room for chest pains or signs related to a stroke, we do their cholesterol and triglycerides check then and there, no? Okay.
The recent studies have shown that the differences between fasting and non-fasting results for cholesterol are usually negligible. In fact, in the United States, fasting before a cholesterol test is preferred but not mandatory. And in Europe, fasting is no longer required. Dr. Cuellar notes that changes in medical protocols do happen with continuous research, as was the case with testing for cholesterol problems earlier.
We used to see the typical person with high cholesterol or risk to having high cholesterol in their 40s and 50s and 60s, but I have no limit now to ask one teenager or a younger person to have a yearly check done. So both from experience and from the literature, we know that we need to be checking more frequently.
It will even help some more vulnerable groups in getting their regular checks.
The elderly seem to have, we have a challenge with them because elderly is 65 and over the 70s, the 80s. It's a bit challenge for them to be having these longer fasting. Diabetics in particular, no? People who, it's hard for them to be fasting that long without running the risk of their sugar dropping too low and that kind of thing.
So since you don't have to skip breakfast, do remember to get your cholesterol checked at least once a year. Dr. Cuellar notes that fasting is still required for other tests you may need to take.